Hello, nature lovers. Do you love to read books like I do? I've always enjoyed reading books ever since I was a kid, especially books about nature. Unfortunately, as I get older, I find myself with less and less time to sit down with a good book. I've solved that problem with Audible. Audible allows you to listen to your favorite titles while you are driving, at the gym, taking a walk, wherever you are. With all the latest titles, you'll have quite a selection to choose from. And they have podcasts too. Start listening today with a free 30-day trial. To get your free 30-day trial, go to the show notes and click on the link. Happy listening. Hello, friends, and welcome to the podcast. This is Paul, your host, and today we're going to talk about a member of the dog family, a good friend of our, well, to most of us, I consider it a friend. They're great to have around because they are basically keeping the rodent population under control, and they don't bother people, but for some reason, so many people don't like them, probably because they are considered a predator. And whenever we hear the word predator, it throws fear into us, our bones. We get shivers down our back, and oh no, a predator, run for your life. Thank you, Hollywood. Thank you, commercials. Thank you for all the old stories that we used to read as kids. The big bad wolf. Well, we're not talking about wolves. Yes, wolves are in the canine family, but this is a cousin of the wolf that I'd like to talk about. The coyote. Yes, the coyote. Wile E. Coyote. All those cartoons about that really clever and sly little coyote who would trick that roadrunner. Or was it the other way around? Oh, yeah, he was always trying to catch the roadrunner, but he can never get him. But anyhow, the coyote, they are found all over the U.S. Not historically, but nowadays they're found all over the U.S. They're found up in Canada. And, well, the coyote, maybe you don't know about the coyote. Maybe you've never seen one before. Maybe you're not familiar with them. So let me start here with a description of a coyote. I'm sure you know what a dog looks like. Okay, picture a medium-sized dog, maybe a small German Shepherd, usually measuring 4-footed critters. We measure them at the shoulders. So a coyote is approximately 24 inches at the shoulder, 2 feet. They're approximately 3 to 4.5 foot long, and you're like, come on, Paul, give me an exact number. I can't. There's quite a wide range there, I know. 3 to 4.5 feet. That's quite a range. Well, it depends on the age of the coyote, the sex of the coyote, and believe it or not, the location of the coyote. Where do they live? And we'll get into that in a little more detail in a few minutes. But I want to talk more about what they look like. So they're about 20 to 50 pounds. Yes, I know, another wide range in the size of them. It all depends, once again, on age, sex, and location. You got to realize there's about 19 subspecies of coyotes. 19 of them. So there's variances. They're all coyotes. They all look very similar, but they're subspecies. They have just enough of a difference, enough DNA change that they gave them a separate subspecies. For instance, there's what we consider eastern coyotes, western coyotes, but there's a bunch of them in between too. And these coyotes, they look like a dog, medium-sized dog. They have kind of a brownish gray fur color. And I've noticed a lot of times up around the head and ears and along the back and especially the legs too. It's more of a rusty brown color. And then the belly. The belly is white. So you have a white belly, kind of reddish brown on the legs and parts of the back. And most of it, though, is a grayish, gristly look. Yeah, grayish brown. Now, if you ever get a chance to touch a coyote, now I doubt you're going to be able to touch a live coyote, but if you have a chance to touch maybe a coyote pelt or a mount, you'll notice that the fur is not really soft. It's not the type of fur you want to take and just rub all over your face and your hands. No, it's not that type of fur. It's not real soft. It's actually very coarse. It's coarse and gristly. That's about the only way I can describe it. So you've got this grayish brown dog-looking animal. They don't come in a lot of variety of colors. So if you see one of them out in the field that looks that color, it's probably a coyote. There are other ways to tell the difference between a dog and a coyote. I get calls all the time from people as soon as they hear, oh, he's a nature guy. He knows the answer. Most of the time I do, once in a while I don't. They describe this dog-like creature they saw running across the yard or across the field, and they want to know, is that the neighbor's dog or is it a coyote? How do I tell? And when I describe the colors, or I ask them, hey, describe the colors to me, oh, it was too far away. I couldn't really tell colors. So the next question is, how was it carrying itself? Where was it going? How was it walking? And that's when I get the answers I need to tell whether it's a domestic dog or a wild dog, a coyote. So the way you tell the difference is a coyote, when they're walking, they're one purpose in mind. One purpose: survival. Food, finding shelter, getting away from danger. Yeah, they're top of the food chain, but unfortunately not the very top, so there are predators. They are always thinking survival. Now, when they're thinking survival, they're going from point A to point B. They're not darting all over the field unless they're chasing their prey. So they're going in a straight line. So if you see a dog-like creature just walking in a straight line across the field, good chance it's a coyote. If they're going over here and then over there, and oh, what's that over there? And they go over that way, and then maybe, oh, what's that over there? I want to see this. Oh, so much curiosity. Maybe they're after food, but more likely it's, hey, what trouble can I get into? What is this thing over here? Just total curiosity. It's probably a domestic dog. Remember, domestic dogs, we feed them. We give them plenty of food. They don't need to go out hunting. So they are just out there having fun. Doing their business too, hopefully. But they're out there having some fun, exploring, investigating, wandering like we do. So that's one way to tell the difference. Does that mean a domestic dog isn't going to go in a straight line? No, they could too. So here's the other clue. Look at the tail. How do they carry their tail? Is the tail straight up in the air, wagging, happy-go-lucky? That's a domestic dog. Remember, they're out there to have fun. They've already been fed. They're just out enjoying themselves. So their tail's up in the air wagging. If you see the tail down between the legs, probably a coyote. More than likely a coyote. Now, once in a while, my dog, she is scared of her own shadow. She hears a sound she doesn't like, or my bigger dog starts barking at something. She gets scared, and her tail goes right between her legs, and she darts in a nice straight line right to my house. But she doesn't look anything like a coyote, so you would be able to tell her. So it could still be a domestic dog, but tail between the legs, probably a coyote. Tail up in the air, not a coyote. What if you see the tail going straight out back and it's a much larger animal? Then it's probably a wolf. Now, we don't have wolves where I live, but maybe you have wolves in your area. So if you see that tail straight out from the body, it's probably a wolf. Down between the legs, coyote, up in the air, wagging away, domestic dog. So those are the easy ways to tell whether it's a dog or a coyote. Both in the same family. And as a matter of fact, dogs and coyotes can breed with each other. So can wolves and coyotes. That's how closely related they are. When a dog and a coyote interbreed, we call the offspring coy dog. And every coy dog I've ever seen, there's not a lot out there, but everyone that I've ever seen, the head looks so much larger than the body. It almost looks like it doesn't fit the body. You can tell the difference. They're usually much larger. Dogs who breed with wolves, they're often a little bit larger too. And we'll get into that in a little more depth in a little while. So that's essentially what you're looking for in a coyote. That brownish gray fur, about 2 feet at the shoulders, about 3 to 4.5 foot long. And like I said, they carry themselves much differently than a dog does. Now, there is a variance in size. The largest coyotes are the eastern coyotes. In the northeastern U.S., that's where you're going to find larger coyotes. I went out west. I've been out west many times. And whenever I go out there and I see a coyote, it's like, boy, they look so small. Well, compared to the coyotes we have in my area, the northeastern U.S., they are smaller. The coyotes in the northeast can be probably about 10 pounds heavier, and therefore they are larger than the western coyotes. They have done studies on this. They've done DNA studies trying to figure out why is this coyote so much bigger. And the DNA studies they did actually revealed something very interesting. The eastern coyote is a mix between a western coyote and a wolf. The red wolf, as a matter of fact. The Canadian red wolf came down from Canada and bred with the western coyote on their way into the east, and that's how we got the eastern coyote, and that's why they're so much bigger. They have wolf DNA in them. So it's pretty interesting how that happened. And what's more interesting is they never used to even be here in the northeastern U.S. The coyote, their historic range, the historic range of the coyote was actually west of the Appalachian Mountains. Now they're found, as I was saying earlier, all over the United States. So what caused them to come further east? Why didn't they just stay out west? The coyote historically has been known for a species that spent its time in the desert, like Wile E. Coyote chasing the roadrunner. They were a desert species. So the newer coyotes are actually not just a desert species. They spend a lot of times in the forest, crossing fields, so they share a lot of habitats. And more recently, they're a city dweller. You'll find them around people in very developed areas. They're a creature of opportunity, and they're very well adaptable to their habitats, which help them to survive. And that's one of the reasons they headed this way, to the east. They took the opportunity. You see, let's go back in time. If we have a time machine, let's pretend we're going back to the early 1900s. The wolf. The wolf is hunted because they are a predator. They're an apex predator, top species, top of the food chain. And what are these wolves doing? Oh, they're killing Little Red Riding Hood. No. What the wolf is doing is it's getting food by going on ranches and unfortunately killing the ranchers' livestock. Sheep, cows, cattle. They're just killing for food. They can't help it. That's what they do. So the ranchers basically declared war on the wolves, and the wolves were hunted. Matter of fact, at one time, there was the government paying a bounty on wolf heads. So you kill a wolf, go to the government, they'll give you money for it. So they were actually killing these wolves. And what happens when a species starts declining in numbers? Other species fill that void. The universe, nature, always wants an equilibrium. You give a void, it's going to be filled. So when the wolves were hunted to extirpation, if you've never heard that term, extirpation is when they're basically extinct in a specific area. Not extinct everywhere, but they've been extirpated from certain regions. So when the wolf disappeared from a certain region, who's going to take over? Well, it needs to be filled. That's what nature does. It fills that void. And what did it fill it with? The coyote. Yeah, you see, the coyote, I mentioned earlier, they do have some predators. They can be a prey animal, not just a predator. The predators for the coyote are the wolf and the cougar. The cougar and the wolf, when they were hunted because they were looked at as evil, terrible animals, they need to be wiped out, destroyed. So when they were hunted to a point where their numbers were low enough, there was a void, and the coyote filled that void. There were more coyotes. They lost their predators, so no one was there to keep their numbers in check. So they expanded in numbers. Now, when they expanded enough, they needed more space, so they started moving further east. Now, I do go up to Algonquin Park up in Canada every once in a while, and I've never gone into the deeper sections of Algonquin. Usually I stick around the road, and a friend of mine, though, has, and they've done some wolf calls at night. And I did some research and found out that the wolves are very prominent up in Algonquin Park. But you don't see any coyotes because the wolves have filled that niche, that space. So the coyotes stay outside of the park. They don't do well together. And the reason, as I said, is the wolf hunts the coyote. So that's why when the wolves started disappearing in the east, the coyotes started moving their territory for more room, and because they didn't have any top predators hunting them, they moved further and further east. The wolf did another funny thing. When their numbers started going down, they started to look for other ways to continue their species. And one of those was to breed with an animal that you were close enough to in genetics that you could breed with them. And that was the coyote. So that's where the eastern coyote came about. Because the wolves, the red wolf, as a matter of fact, from Canada started breeding with the western coyote, and the offspring became a mix. So the DNA that they have studied in the coyote is a mix, the eastern coyote, is a mix between the western coyote and the wolf. Now, they are very clever animals. They have learned to adapt to this changing world. Humans have expanded into the wilderness areas, basically coyote habitat. So where's the coyote going to go? Well, they're going nowhere. They're staying where they are, but they're learning to adapt to humans. You'll find coyotes wandering through cities. They don't like to be around people. They're very skittish, very shy. So if you're worried about having coyotes around, I've heard people who are sitting outside in the countryside and they hear coyotes and they head inside immediately. It's like, oh no, I don't want to be eaten by a coyote. You won't be. We're too big a prey for them. Coyotes will stay away from humans. The only documented attacks by coyotes on humans is when the coyote was disturbed. They were aggravated. So they're being harassed in one way or another, or they're probably protecting their pups. So that's about the only recorded instances of attacks on humans by coyotes, when they were being aggravated by humans. Now, I want to go back to Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote, I used to love that cartoon when I was younger, and I kept rooting for Wiley. It's like, come on, dude. You've got this intelligence enough that you can create all these really neat devices and really neat ways to catch that roadrunner, yet you can't catch them? Come on. Well, I've learned as I got older, he probably could have caught him. You see, a coyote can run at about 40 miles per hour. That's pretty good. So top speed's around 40 miles per hour. Can you guess what the roadrunner can do at top speeds? About 26. 26? 40? Yeah, I'm pretty sure the coyote's going to catch him. So the coyote can maneuver very quickly as well. So coyotes are a very excellent hunter. Now, speaking of hunters, they do have a wide variety to their diet. They're considered omnivores. Most people think of them as carnivores, meat eaters, but they do eat a lot of other things like berries. They'll eat grubs. They're a creature of opportunity. So wherever they are and wherever they can find food, they'll eat it. And they're also known as a scavenger. Oh no, they got two of those bad words on their back. Predator and now scavenger. Yeah, two words that make us shudder. Well, scavenger is, in case you've never heard that term before, a scavenger is an animal who basically feeds on carnage, dead animals. They find an animal, maybe a deer was hit by a car. It's a free meal. They don't have to chase it down. It's just laying there dead at the side of the road. It's pretty fresh. They can eat it. So they are considered a scavenger. They will eat fruits, berries, dog food, cat food if you leave it out for them. They will go underneath a bird feeder and eat peanuts off the ground. They will eat insects if they need to, birds if they can catch them. They will also eat berries. Of course, they are a carnivore partly, so they do eat meat as well. So they have a huge variety to their diet. Now, once they find something that they like and it's easy to catch, that's going to be their food of choice. And unfortunately, that's why they've gotten a bad reputation with ranchers and farmers. You see, when they go into a ranch and they find a sheep, maybe a young calf, or chickens, easy prey. They go in there and they kill one, they've got that taste on them. So they'll keep going back. They know how to get them. Now, the ranchers and the farmers, they've got a vendetta against these guys. And honestly, I don't think I can blame them. This is their livelihood. This is their source of income. And here you've got this creature coming in and destroying that source of income. And they keep coming back and coming back. Well, the problem is their solution is actually aggravating the problem. And what I mean by that is their solution is to destroy them. Just go on and keep shooting any coyote you see. Get their numbers down. But what they don't realize, and this is scientific data that has proven what I'm about to say, what they don't realize is they're actually increasing the numbers. And you're sitting there thinking that I just went nuts. How could you start decreasing the numbers by killing these animals? And that increases the numbers? Okay, Paul, go back to school, do your math. Well, you got to understand how the coyote works. They figured that about 400,000, 400,000 coyotes are destroyed, dispatched each and every year. Yet they've noticed the population of coyotes keeps increasing. Let's talk a little bit about the family unit before I go any further with this. You see, coyotes are fairly solitary. They like to be territorial. We always think of them as in packs, but that's more wolves. Coyotes do form kind of a loose-knit pack, mostly in the autumn and the winter time when food gets harder to find. It's easier to hunt and easier to gather food if you're in a group. So that's why they form the packs in the winter time. Other times of the year, they're fairly solitary, but they are family-oriented too. So you'll have a male and female together, and they raise their young, usually about 4 to 7 pups in the spring times when they have them. They have a 58 to 65 day gestation period. They give birth in a burrow. They don't dig the burrow themselves. They do usually take over another animal's burrow, a hole in the ground, and they just enlarge it so that they can get in there. They're a much bigger animal than whoever's burrow they took over. So they raise their family in there till they're old enough to start fending for themselves a little bit. Now, the young will stay with mom and dad for about 6 to 9 months. And mom and dad stick together. They take care of these pups the entire 6 to 9 months. Usually by that time, they start getting together in the pack because winter's coming. And the young will stay with them still, but they're a little more independent by that time. The ones who are breeding in the pack are the alphas. The alpha male, the alpha female are the ones who breed. If you go out and you kill the alpha male or the alpha female or both, what's going to happen? Well, you just kind of destroyed the whole hierarchy of this pack. And so the younger ones, the younger coyotes, male and female, are going to start mating. They're going to start breeding. So instead of having one pair in the pack breeding, you've got several pair breeding, which means more babies. More babies, larger populations, they're going to start breeding as well at a younger age. So this is why this whole let's destroy them, kill them, just doesn't work. You see, coyotes are pretty much self-regulating in their population. They will control the size of their packs on their own. But human intelligence, we don't realize this. We don't bother to look into this. Scientists have proven this. There are a lot of programs going on out west now to help control the coyote population in a more humane way without killing them. Because, like I said, you go out and you start shooting every coyote you see, trying to get the population down, you might as well just go out and shoot your livestock because all you're doing is you're increasing the population by doing that. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox on this whole issue of killing the coyote and it not really doing any good. Let's get back to the coyote himself. If you are outside in the evening, and that's when they're most active, is at nighttime. During the daytime, they're usually sleeping, they're denning up. In the evening, that's when they start becoming more active. You may be sitting out on your patio, enjoying the evening, maybe having a small campfire. I know I do this in the summertime at my house. We sit out on our patio. We spend almost all our time on our patio in the summertime. In the evening, we'll sit there just relaxing around our fire pit, and we start hearing the coyotes howling. Now, if you've heard coyotes howl, it's almost an eerie sound. It's more than just a howl. They've actually found that the coyote has about 11 different vocalizations. If you have 2 coyotes out there doing these noises, these yipping noises or these howls, it can actually sound like a huge pack of them. So don't assume if you hear a pack of coyotes that it is a pack. It could only be 2, maybe 3 coyotes. And they can make their voices sound like a huge pack of them. The reason that they do these howls, these calls, these different sounds that they make, the 11 different vocalizations, is twofold. First of all, they're either marking their territory, letting everyone else know, hey, this is my space. Stay out. The second reason is communication. Communication with the other members of the pack or their family. And that's why usually in the fall you start hearing more coyotes because they're communicating with the other coyotes saying, hey, weather's getting cold, food's getting more scarce, let's start getting together. So that's what all the vocalizations are. Now, if you've never heard a coyote, here's kind of what they sound like. I'm going to play a couple of different vocalizations here for you. To notice how their sounds can go anywhere from a yelping noise to a yipping, a howl, a barking. So it's lots of different calls with them. They can be eerie, scary sometimes, or they could be beautiful. Depends on your opinion of it. And as I said in the beginning of the episode, they won't go after a human unless they're being bothered. So if you hear that loud howling noise, and I've had them pretty close in our yard here, my property, I've heard them pretty close by, I just stay out there and listen to them and enjoy them. If they get too close, all you need to do is yell, and usually by that time, if they get too close, my dog is starting to bark and howl back at them, they disappear. They go running away. They're very skittish animals, so don't panic, don't worry. It's good to have them around because they are great pest control. They eat a lot of mice and other rodents that you don't want around your house. So the next time you think of coyotes as being a predator, a scavenger, all those nasty words that put chills up our spine, think twice about it and realize, hey, they're just part of nature. They belong here. So we might as well enjoy them and try to get along with them like we should with all of nature. Well, it looks like we've run out of time for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed learning about the coyote. And if you want to learn more information, go online, search Google. Coyotes are fascinating creatures. I hope you enjoyed wandering through nature with me. Don't forget to invite your nature-loving friends to join us next time. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Take a minute to rate, review the podcast. If you have any nature questions or ideas for future episodes, I always love to hear ideas. Feel free to drop me a DM on my Instagram page at The Nature Wanderer. There's underscores in between each one of those three words. Or you can go to my website at naturewanderer.org, naturewanderer.org. You can also support the podcast by joining my Patreon, which will give you extras, including videos, education classes, pictures, and much more. Show your support of the podcast and your love of nature by supporting a Nature Wanderer t-shirt, water bottle, backpack, puzzles. There's lots of great merch. All you need to do is click on the store from my website. Have a great week and keep exploring the nature around you.